and welcome back to another thrilling episode of Off the Dome. I'm your humble interviewer, Jordon Brown, and with me for the very first time is our incredible interviewer, Vic Michaelis. Say hi, incredible interviewer.
Unbelievable. Hi, how are you? So fun. I love this already. This is so fun. Thank you for having me, Jordan. I'm nothing if not a fan, so I'm thrilled to be
Oh,
here.
stop. With the
I
fandom is all
can't,
on
and I
this
won't.
side. Okay. To start things off, controversial.
Yes.
Best ass cat guest you have ever seen. Bonus points, how many S's are in ass cat?
Oh my God. Best ass cat. Best ass cat guest I've ever seen. That's a really great question. And I'm having a panic attack right now because I'm realizing how a lot of names I've seen written, and now I'm worried about saying them out loud. You know what I mean? Like, and I know that a lot of people I've met. I mean, X Mayo is unbelievable. So funny, was on American Auto and a variety, the Blackening, like a bunch of other stuff. So funny. I mean, that's the first one that comes to mind, if I'm honest. Beck Bennett was a guest kind of recently. So funny. How many S's in ASCAT? I'm gonna guess 4.
You are correct. There are 4 S's in ass cat.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, nailed it. For the folks at home who haven't seen Ass Cat, can you describe the very, very fun show at UCB?
A mess. No, it's like it's just, like it's like a group of, I want to say 600 of us that just sort of get rotated out weekly to do an improv show based off of monologues from a celebrity, or if a celebrity is unavailable, somebody in the UCB atmosphere that was available on 6 minutes notice to come and do monologues, and then we do improv off of it. It's so fun. Highly recommend, I guess.
Yeah,
Have you
super
seen one,
fun.
Jordan?
I lived in LA for a year in 2006, so
Ooh.
probably before your time at UCB.
That's amazing. Who was around and about UCB at that time? It would have been like
it was like Besser and Walsh, like the original 3 minus Amy Poehler, who's off doing SNL, so obviously was in New York. So I remember AssCat on Sunday nights was free. And then they just asked people to throw weed on the stage during the show as payment. It was a different time.
Perfect. It's so funny because my only experience with UCB is when, I mean, like, now we're just getting into the weeds of what UCB was. It's like a much more corporate structure. So it is it's very funny where they're like, in no mod sketches are we allowed to have like fire on the stage. So that is, that's very funny.
Yeah, I remember at one point, I think it was Matt Besser, literally opened up brownies that someone had thrown on the stage, and he took a bite of one, and he was like, wait, what if they laced it with something other than weed? And he's like, guess we'll find out. And it's like, what an incredible, just thing to do. Someone threw a food item at you. Wow, because they turned the lights off so that no one could get in trouble for throwing them.
Of course.
And then, because it was 2006, it wasn't legal.
Yeah, but if you can't see, nobody can get in trouble legally.
Right, exactly. That's the law. Yeah. Oh man, I'm so excited to talk to you for so many things, but we are in the midst of a holiday season, and
Sure.
Round and Round, what a delight that was.
Jordan,
it was so much
I really
fun.
can't thank you enough for watching it and hyping it up. And I think if I get to do another Hallmark holiday movie, I think you get a cut. I'm pretty sure you get a cut of what you name your title, and I'll give it to you.
Perfect.
Head of Hallmark PR. I'll throw 5% to you for that. Absolutely.
It was genuinely so fun. And like, so I told you, like, my wife thought her favorite Hallmark movie she's ever seen. That isn't as strong a compliment for me because it's one of like 3 that I've seen. But like, we watched it with commercials opening night, so like we took it seriously. And I was messaging you.
I really can't tell you.
It was genuine. Like, I laughed out loud at multiple points. And like I was like got choked up at the end. It's fantastic. And
Yeah,
also
Jordan,
had a
seriously,
Paper
thank you,
Girls
and thank you
reference.
for
I don't.
taking family time to do that. Like it, it's overwhelmingly kind in a way that I have a hard time processing. So I do really really appreciate it.
I mean, my wife loves Hallmark movies, so like it was an easy sell to be like, "Hey, do you want to watch a Hallmark movie with Vic?" And my wife was like, "Yeah, they're fantastic. Of course I do." Paper Girls, is that a
That's
comic book you've read?
yeah, I love Paper Girls.
Oh
I'm
my god!
I mean, I don't think I'm really spoiling too much or tipping my hat to say I was the only person. Like I was the one, and I'm like, I love D&D. I'm also, like a fan of D20 and Critical Role and things like that. But I think, the only person with in sort of like the creative core that had a lot of knowledge on D&D. Obviously the writer strike was happening, so the writer was not on set. So it was me mostly explaining like what a D20 dice was. I did try and fight to, I mean, like, I know that later on in the story it's important, but I sort of brought up the point that maybe it didn't make a ton of sense to have a box for just 2 dice. But it's stuff like that. It was like it was very interesting, that, but it was like it was so fun. They shoot those Hallmark movies in 3 weeks. I don't know if I'm allowed to say that, but I did. And I mean, like, it's a super super fast. You're there, you're in, you're out. It's such a great gig.
Yeah. And it was delightful. I love Paper Girls, and just hearing you say the word, I was just like, yes, it's what I like. Anytime, like if there's a like time loop movie, as long as if they reference the other time loop movies, it makes me lose my mind when they're like, we're stuck in a time loop, and then they're not like, like Groundhog Day and Palm Springs, and it's like, yeah, no, there are like cultural touchstones for us to reference.
That's such a good point. I think I agree. Oh, that's so, I've never thought of that, but I think I agree. So you like movies that live in our world, like the idea that it's
Yes.
like, yeah, I agree. I think where it's like when somebody's talking about, like, I mean, this is a terrible example, but like, somebody's talking about like a magic school, and it's like, just like there's a book called, oh, what is it called? It's about like werewolves. It's like a fantasy school, and it's like women are witches and men are werewolves, and then lobizona, and she references where she's like, whoa, it's kind of like Harry Potter, and it's like, yes, because of course you live in the real world, so you would be aware of this, like, this book series that takes place that's like similar to your situation. I totally agree. I think I'm similar.
Yeah. Yes. Good. Yeah. So I was messaging you during the movie, telling you how much my wife and I were enjoying it. And at one point, my wife was like, "Well, you're friends with Vic," and I was like, "A generous read, but thank you."
No,
And she
yes.
was like, and she was like, "And Vic's dad in the movie is Rick Hoffman, who is in
Sure.
Suits with Meghan Markle." And I was like, "We're basically royalty. Like we're just
Royalty.
like 2 steps away." So
The three of us. Look at us.
yeah.
You, me, and your wife. Royalty. Yeah, Rick is
um,
like truly the best and most wonderful person, especially for, I don't know, it's always so interesting meeting people that have had like truly so much success, and especially with like the Suits renaissance and things like that, and just being like, oh man, like you really are just a person, and you're just a nice guy, and I really appreciate that.
That's lovely to hear. Yeah. He was I think he was like particularly fantastic in the movie. Just like I saw, I don't remember what review I saw where they were talking about moving your stuff out of the room. I can't think of what he called it. Your garbaggio. I think
Garbaggio.
that's yes. Like I saw someone was like, that's
Nailed it.
exactly what my dad would call it. Like yeah, like and delivered in the same tone. Oh, that's yeah.
Are you from
Anyway,
New
the movie
York
was
area?
delightful. I am not.
Oh, I see. Just a
Yes,
common phrase.
it was a review I saw of the movie, not my
I
own
see.
personal experience.
I understand. Makes sense.
Great. Yes. All right. Before we get into very important people, which is such a delight,
Thank you.
I feel like multiple times during the interview, I should ask you how I'm doing, since you're the like real professional interviewer here of
No, oh my God, no,
serious
Jordan, you are
acclaim.
crushing it. It is like, it is,
Okay, I
again,
found
it's
this
like,
Oh
on the
God,
web for say claim.
I don't
Siri,
know.
not
Siri just
now.
lost her mind.
No, you like, Interviewing people is so difficult. And again, the only reason is it's like, well, we'll get into it later, but like you are so wonderful at interviewing and like getting like all the clips you have of everybody. I'm always like so deeply impressed and so thankful that you are interviewing and I am not a interviewer on a in a real way.
You're very much in a real way, but we'll get there. One of the things that I really love, so you've sort of become like that second, not generation, but like that second wave of dropout stars. The new blood, I think, is what it was for Survivor. Like you, and
Oh
I
yeah,
feel
yeah,
weird
yeah.
calling him. I feel weird calling him Jake because like he goes by Jacob, but everyone seems to call him Jake, and it really throws me off because he doesn't know I exist. So I feel weird saying his
Mm.
like a shortened version of his name.
Well, here's what I'll say too is I've known Jacob for a very, very long time, and we shot season 1 of Make Some Noise, and Sam kept calling him Jake, which I've never talked to him about this. I don't know if that just is a short form sometimes, but I was also very thrown off. I was like, I have
Oh,
never
good.
heard anybody call him Jake. I don't know what he prefers, but he goes by Jacob on like socials, and I've always called him Jacob, so I continue to call
Great.
him
Oh, so it's
Jacob.
Sam's.
I don't
It's
know.
Sam's
I
fault.
don't
Yeah,
know.
it's Sam's
I
fault.
didn't
Yeah.
say that, and I won't say that. You said that. That was Jordon said that, and I wouldn't say that, and I'm not going to say that. And I had a lovely time at the Dropout Christmas party, and I would like to be there next year.
One of the things that I do love about like you on Make Some Noise specifically is you use the space more than like anyone else, and it's such a delight. Whether you're just like coming out to do, you're a black belt in something. Is
Something, yeah, Taekwondo.
in something. Taekwondo. Okay, I didn't want to guess wrong, and I forgot to look it up before the interview started.
No, that's okay. I appreciate that. Honestly, I don't shut up about it because it's one of those things where it's like I have we're gifted a limited amount of accomplishments in this life, and that's the one that I feel like is the best soundbite. So that's the one I throw out there the most. Have I done Taekwondo since I was like 18? No, that's okay. It doesn't matter. Nobody can take that away from me except for maybe
Yeah.
some sort of a regulatory board, and if they want to do that, they're welcome to.
But climbing a podium, removing Sam from his desk to write a note, doing a Taekwondo demonstration. Like, I love how you use space more so, I feel like, than anyone else. And it's really fun. I'm sure Sam loves it because it brings a different energy. But what are the vibes like on Make Some Noise?
Really great. I mean, like Sam is so wonderful, and I think like improv is a lot about like creating a space where you can't make mistakes, and I think that especially with televised improv, there's a lot of like moving parts, right? Like the making sure that you're like in the right angles for camera, or there's a pretty strict time limit on like this is how long we have to do something, or like we've allotted this much time for a game, or like this is something that we could air or we couldn't air or whatever. And across the board, I think the folks at Dropout have done such a wonderful job creating an environment where they go like, we will worry about that, you don't worry about that, like you just you perform, you do whatever you want to do, and we will worry about like figuring out how to make it airable around it. And I think like obviously Sam being the head of the ship, captain of the ship.
Yeah, that's right.
Sam being the captain of the ship, I think. Captain being the I captain of the ship, I think really sets that tone in such a lovely way. Like really makes us feel like whatever we want to do is fine, and if it doesn't work, that's fine. We can we'll move on. They really do a good job going like we'll worry about it in the edit. Like you just do what you want to do, which is that's a dream when you're coming up with stuff on the spot.
Yeah, it's super fun to watch. I will also say that like anytime there's like the weekly schedule pops up and your face is on it, my Discord blows up with people so excited to see you do literally anything. Like I said, instantly like a fan favorite in that second wave. It's very true. People were so excited when I told them that I was going to be interviewing you. Like,
oh man, that is really kind. My sister specifically, who's 20 and very plugged in on the internet, was very excited to hear I was doing this interview with you. So you're a celebrity in my family's house. So you know.
That doesn't make it. That makes no sense to me, but okay. I know. I know we can't talk about Game Changer because it hasn't aired yet. But Sam says,
Jordon, something you got to know about me is like you can't press too hard because I'm like a wet towel, you know what I mean? Like a paper towel. Like I want to talk about stuff so bad, and there's some stuff I want to talk about so bad, and I can't.
Just ask,
and I can't. But yes,
how great
please.
is it going to be?
Yes.
You, Lou, Jacob, which now we know is the actual name he prefers. It's is it
like,
magic?
That was wild.
That's the
I know
question.
Sam.
Is it magic?
I mean, like, it's always so hard to say. One, like, I feel like I'll speak for myself, but I think all of us really sort of blacked out and came to like 3.5 hours later. And how do I want to say this? There's some
I can edit around this if you need me to.
No. No, not at all. That's totally fine. How about this? It's so much more. That's all I'm gonna say. It's so much
Wonderful.
more.
Yeah,
it's so much
I know
more.
Sam,
and I don't, and I can't, and I don't.
Yeah. Sam posted that it was like, it's 3.5 hours long. I don't know how I'm gonna cut this down to 40 minutes. And everyone I know was like, don't show us all 3.5 hours. Like, you coward. But yeah, I'm really excited for that. I do. Oh man, I jump back really quickly to make some noise. I really,
yeah, of course.
I talked to Andrew Rosas really recently, and he has written a bunch of prompts for Make Some Noise. So it was really fun to talk about like his writing process, for, like how like that comes together. I'm curious if you have any prompts that stand out in your mind that you're like, oh, that was super fun, or like if there are any that like you remember seeing that really threw you for a second, anything special that jumps out.
Oh man, yeah. I mean, like it's always so. I'm just like a fan of the show. Like I like watching all of them. So I mean, like recently, this was not a prompt of mine, but just in watching, and I was in hair and makeup as they were filming this episode, so I got to hear it live too. But Zach's horse girl really is really just the in that musical episode that they just aired was so wonderful and so special, and just watching in the moment it happen in real time pretty much exactly as it aired was something pretty spectacular, I would I would say. But for mine specifically, I mean, like the ones that I always love, I got a prompt for one of the episodes this season for like a serial type podcast about the Hamburglar, and I mean, like, was it the tightest prompt that I've done? No, but that one I really loved getting to do, like stuff like that where it's sort of like mapping. I always really enjoy. Yeah, and then also too, like just getting paired with Jacob and Zach, like watching them do like really goofy prompts where like air guitar stuff like that always really makes me laugh.
Yeah, it's super fun. All right. Very important people. At any point, was there a discussion to call it very important characters so that it would be Vic with Vic?
There wasn't, but it was one of those things where like I got brought on to host, and it was at the time still just being called like I knew that it wasn't going to be the final title, but like I got an email just with like hello, my name is Reboot, which was sort of like how I was corresponding back and forth with the team there. But the call sheet came out and it said VIP call sheet, and I thought that it was just like the folks being like nice to me, being like, oh, this is the VIP sheet, like this is like the one that's going to Vic. And it really took me until getting there the first day to be like, oh no, this is the new name of the show that's happening. So I that's sort of maybe embarrassing, and a sneak peek about the dark world of my brain here, that I just thought that people were being weirdly nice and trying to make me feel good about myself. And I was like, I got to talk to them. I literally can't get sheets sent to me being like VIP call sheet. But no, they was the name of the show. And I missed the memo. I probably didn't read an email fully, if I'm being honest. But that's sort of how that
It happens to the best of us.
But honestly, I don't know if it could be VIC. I think I would feel to like I think for like online purposes and stuff, fun. For my brain, I think it would be bad. It being VIC, it being literally my name on the show, I think would be tough. Could you do a show named Jordon? Would you do a show named Jordon?
I mean, I can't imagine. I mean, sure, if Dropout wants to hire me. Yeah, no, no, it would probably feel very weird.
You do it. You do it next season. It was VIP last season, and it'll be Jordon this season, and we'll come up with what the acronym is.
Yeah, we work backwards from that.
Yeah.
I actually,
we'll come up with the concept afterwards.
Yeah, we nailed the ending, so we just had to figure out how we get there. I actually am curious.
It's the journey.
How did those like first conversations come about? I assume like were you a fan of Hello, My Name Is prior to that? Did you have to go back and research? Like how did those all come about?
Yeah, I like it's so funny, like, you know, obviously I think like a lot of people, especially in comedy in, you know, smaller town markets, I grew up a lot on College Humor stuff. For me, I have like first and foremost, my greatest like gateway was did you ever watch Very Mary Kate around that time?
Yes.
It was a Lane show.
Yes, yeah. Oh,
that to me
so
was
good.
like I know, and that was my big thing. I know that like Hello, My Name Is was around at the same time, and I've obviously seen a bunch of it. But yeah, it was so I had seen a bunch of it, but I truly got an email that was like hosting a show ? And from there it just sort of had like a little bit of the pitch and stuff like that. And you know, I obviously was super into it. I went back and I rewatched, and a lot of it was very, very familiar. But I think it was kind of like I feel very grateful that I wasn't completely married to the characters and the idea. Like I didn't have that like obsessive watch like I did for some of the other Dropout stuff, because I think it allowed me in my mind to sort of like do my own thing with it a little bit. And I hope as the episodes come out, sort of that, you know, it seems like people are cool with it sort of being like, I think Sam was calling it a spiritual sequel. And I think it's really great that people are excited about that aspect of it, because I think my fear going into it was that it was going to be a little bit too different from the original, and that people were going to be upset that it wasn't exactly what the last one was.
Yeah, I mean, it feels like with getting Josh Rubin to come on, like feels like a blessing of. I assumed he was going to be first, yes. So it felt like a natural like blessing, and then of course like. Also, I think my guess is most of Dropout's current audience doesn't remember it, the original, because they're like 20 years old.
Sure.
Yeah. I've seen the first 2 episodes. Iffy's episode is airing tomorrow night when we are taping this, but I've seen Denzel. Oh boy.
And Jordon, I gotta be honest with you. You're ahead of the curve. I have not even seen, I was there filming the Denzel episode, but I have not seen the cut of the Denzel episode yet. So like I said, the only other one I've seen is I believe what will be the next episode. I don't know if I'm allowed to say, you know.
It's next.
Lisa episode, that one.
Yeah, that's fine.
I think it's on the schedule. I don't know. It's hard to say.
Yeah.
But I've seen that one, but I haven't seen, I haven't even seen the Denzel one. So I am going to take your word for it. And I appreciate you watching it.
It's super fun. So the thing I've been pestering Andrew Bridgman to get me cuts of like everything that I can to prep this. And literally he's on hiatus right now and responding to my emails. And he was like, hey, I can't get you anymore. And I was like, stop responding to my nonsense. You're on break. Stop. Yeah, I'm super curious. So we've gotten the Princess Emily and Denzel. And like we got one of the things that I love about Dropout is they do a lot of the cool behind the scenes stuff. We got what to me is not nearly a long enough look, but like that fun like last look of like here's like Anna getting into the makeup and like super fun. how much are you back there for any of the makeup process? Do you know what's coming out, or is this like a total surprise to you as well?
Yeah, no. So basically, like I have been in the pitch meeting, so I know sort of like what like the code name for the makeup is. So I sort of like know like what the looks are going to be, just so that way I can help prep. Well, sort of to go back even further, but like I don't know what character is coming out. I have no idea who these people are choosing to be. Um, but I sort of have an idea of like, oh, like Anna's going to be like Rave Girl is sort of like, is say like what the name of the makeup is. Like I know that that's the look that's going on Anna, but I have and that's mostly just for timing for us in between because we're shooting 3 of these a day. So it's sort of like some of them take a little bit longer in the makeup chair and some of them don't take as much time. But I don't know until she comes out on set and introduces herself what her character is going to be for the most part. So it's yeah, I mean, like what you're seeing, it truly is, I'd say like 99% improv. When we do sort of get the name of the character, me and our director Tamar, and Ebony, who's one of the producers, and sometimes a few other people will go back and be like, what are potentially some props that we could use for these characters? And usually it's like base stuff. Like for Princess Emily, we just like found a cute little backpack that was originally, I think, a part of the costume. And then they were just sort of like, oh, maybe we'll bring it out later or something. And we just shoved a couple of things in there. And then we were just like, great. At some point, if we call for a backpack and just to do a segment on something, we'll like call it and bring it in. But it is like, I mean, like pretty much what you see is what you get. As I'm introducing them, like I did not know Anna was going to come from the side of the set when I introduced her. Like it is like, it's largely a surprise to me also, which is by design too. I think it's easier for the improv. Like the more time you have to pre-plan, the harder it is to be malleable, I think.
Yeah, I mean that makes sense. Oh man, I yeah. So with props, like obviously handfuls of pills. That seemed fun.
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, Also, though, the LaCroix, just like you had them on set, or did someone have to run out and grab one? Or is that
Those were in the cast and crew fridge, and
okay?
it got called for. And again, it's just like having truly the best of the best behind the camera. They were just sort of as you'll see in later episodes, there's a lot of times where it'll be interesting. We got to chit chat like halfway later on in the season, because there is a lot of instances where it's just like something got talked about or called for, and then it's like the producers and creatives behind the scenes scrambling to be like, do we have something we could like introduce or bring on set for a segment, and then just like frantically running to go grab something and then bringing it up and showing it out. And it really is, I mean, like from an improv perspective, it's like it's magical to be like, you talk about something, it's like Santa, right? You talk about something and then like all of a sudden a few minutes later it's like there.
That's incredible. Yeah, I mean, if you'll come
Yeah.
back, I'll have you 1,000 times. Like this is incredible.
Jordan, every week, every day, we'll get on the phone, we'll chit chat on our way home from work.
Perfect. Yeah, one of the things. Oh, I assume also that this. My guess is we have this video of you. I'm assuming you're improvising that, and then post shoot or post interview, they're going back and filling in those gaps.
Yeah. Oh, for like in Anna's episode, for example, like the Scorpion videos and things like that. Yeah. So
Yes.
essentially so I had a prep day where we just sort of went through and did like a my good friend Jacob Wysocki, we had come in one day and I just did like an hour and a half of just like mock interview with him in a couple of different scenarios. And something that we found worked really well is because we knew we had the green screen. So we film all of the improv, and then of moments that we could potentially cut to on the green screen, we then film those afterwards. So something that we figured out that just worked really well was just sort of going like, oh yeah, like, we have a video of that. And then I'd just point to nothing, and we'd wait a second, and then the person would sort of react to like what we saw on the screen or whatever. And so then that fully got like Anna with the songs. I can't tell you how brilliant and fully formed they were. Like literally she just went and continued to sing, and then it was up to the producers to be like, great, I think we got it. But I truly think she could have gone for forever with those, and they were brilliant, and I would love an album personally.
Yeah. This full Scorfin album. I also love that moment where you first say it back to her, where it seems like you have you're not fully committed to like the name of the platform, and you're like there's like it's a little quiet at the end. Very fun.
Thank you, Jordan. I appreciate that. I'd call it terrifying. It's that jumping off a cliff moment.
The Iffy one is super fun because I'm gonna take your word for it. The wildest like thread to go through of him living in your guest house like becomes the like storyline of the whole interview, which is such a weird choice in full alien makeup. Just like but there is that like beautiful moment that like you're like you point to the nothing of like we have a like camera. I have a camera set up in my backyard, as Iffy has explained that it's illegal for you to film on your own property, and then it's just him like sneaking around in your backyard. So funny, so weird. Do you remember anything from the day of that like?
Yes, absolutely. Iffy we shot on, I believe, the first day, and so we're still sort of like figuring out our bearings of like what works with these cut-tos and things like that. And the big thing that we talked about with me, because I'm playing like a character version of myself, which I think we'll see will become more apparent, I think, throughout these episodes. And so like having a through line for myself and having like a life and things to do outside of like the interview that can like pop up here and there, especially this being a character that's like the through line for all of these episodes. Like this was the first episode that we really started playing around with like, what does my life outside of the studio look like? And so it was like a very, very fun way to do that. And obviously like Iffy is brilliant and so funny. But yeah, it was like it was the first time we sort of were playing around with the like what else could the green screen look like outside of just like, you know, a TikTok video or just like a YouTube video or something like that. So we just sort of like just started thinking of like we compiled sort of like a list of like different things that we could potentially cut to. I think like at lunch during that first day, just being like, what are like 1.5 million things that just like as I'm looking to cut to things like we could cut through. And we talked about like Ring camera-esque type stuff midway through, and it just seemed like maybe that was an opportunity to do something like that.
It's super fun. There's also this incredible still of Iffy with a sheet over his head because he's invisible, grabbing a movie out of a red box. it's I'm thrilled so that made perfect. The cut. It's so stupid and so funny, and I mean that in the best possible way.
There's no higher compliment. There's no higher compliment in the world.
What is it sort of, I mean, I know obviously my reaction and everyone I've seen's reaction has been wildly positive about the show. Have you gotten to feel that love of like people really excited? Even though we're just one episode in for the general folk.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been, I mean, like, improv is so bizarre in that you spend 5+ years doing improv where you're begging your friends to come to your shows at these like, you know, mainstay but very tiny little theaters where like you're giving out like free water and beer to people to like beg them to come watch you perform for 8 minutes on a set of like 45 people or whatever. And, you know, like you do that for so long, and then to be able to do improv in a way where people are like, you don't even have to promote, people are actively coming to find it, and really appreciating and liking the stuff that you're doing and being into it has been, I mean, like such a gift. And I mean, like really bizarre in a wonderful, really beautiful way. And I am just so thrilled that like everybody that has been on the show and everybody that's going to be a guest coming forward is like actively a good friend. And so like getting to share that with like, especially this first episode with Anna, like getting to experience and share that with her. And, you know, we've been texting a ton back and forth, has been just like so wonderful. And I think has helped ground an appreciation as opposed to just being overwhelming. Like getting to see everybody like love how funny Anna is and like see my friends be funny and appreciate how funny they are in a way that I also find them funny has been just like really incredible.
Yeah, I will say like the heart of the smack of the dab, so funny. And like I've seen probably like 50 people use the audio on TikTok to like talk about various things with like when they're like,
Crazy.
what are you going to do with your like writing degree? And they're like, yes, exactly. And they're like, teach?
Yeah.
Who is that? Like it's so funny. And it was definitely a thing that I thought was literally everywhere. And then I saw it had like just a couple hundred views, which is a lot still. But like, it was like, oh, right. Of course, my
We're in
feed
an
is
echo
just
chamber.
all that. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely.
But still, a couple hundred people have like actively used that audio, which is, it's so funny. Yeah,
Is your
I mean,
entire feed, Jordon, at this point just like dropout and dropout related stuff? Or do you get like those videos of like them like making like polymer but then putting little dabs of color in them and then it like, you know, do you get videos like that anymore or is it just all dropout stuff at this point?
it's a lot of dropout stuff. I will say, like, there is this is a thing I shouldn't admit. There is a lot of ego on this end, where like I see someone who's made like a really good dropout content, and I click, and they're not following me, and I'm like, who do they think they are?
Follow Jordon. What are you doing? The unofficial dropout reporter. You have to.
Yeah, it's mostly dropout. Although my lives lately have just been people opening packs of cards, and I don't know why. I've never watched one, but it's just like someone opening a pack of like
cards?
Pokemon cards mostly, I think. And it's like I don't know what the algorithm thinks, but okay.
Honestly, I kind of love that. I for a while was really on a kick of like opening mini brands, which I'm obsessed with. I wasn't into mini brands before, and I got red pilled hard into mini brands culture, I would say.
I don't know what a mini brand is. Can you tell?
Maybe you're going to be Oh, Jordon, you don't know what mini brands are?
I don't.
You open them and they're tiny versions of like Tide Pods or like tiny versions of orange juice. Do they have any purpose or use other than being single-use plastics that you sort of collect and then throw away the rest of it? No, none whatsoever. But they give a lot of serotonin, and that is maybe something.
Hey, I mean, that's worth it in the end, right?
Consider it.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Anna's performance is fantastic. One of the other moments we talked about the heart of the smack of the dab. One of the other like truly iconic moments though from that first episode is from you, which is sometimes the splits is trying your best. I'm curious, as a black belt in Taekwondo, can you actually do the splits?
Used to. No longer. No.
Okay.
My muscles just sort of seized and clamped up. And then, you know, I used to be very, very flexible. No longer, not even. I think I would sort of like brittle plastic just break. I think I would just fall apart and turn to dust, which aren't we all? Some faster than others. And I think my time, if I try and do stuff like that, is going to be a lot shorter than if I don't. So I am, here's, I think maybe the sad truth of it is I did earnestly going into it when Anna asked me if I could do the splits, me as a person was like, yes, 1000% I can do the splits. And then I got there and I went, there is literally no way this is happening. And so then we course corrected.
It made for an incredible moment. That was the thing that I wanted to, like, I couldn't, and here's the beauty of the moment is I couldn't tell if it was you actually in the moment being like, oh, I can't, or if you in the moment was like, it would be funnier if I can't. So credit to you. Like, it was a thing where I was like, I don't know which it is. They're both perfect. But like, it was, trying your best. It's just, it's such a funny little course correction.
Thank you so much for saying that, Jordon. I appreciate that. And I have been stretching more since that episode. So this time next year, we're getting them back.
You never know. You never know who's going to throw a punch. And yeah.
Sometimes more often than you
think.
So that is...
Yeah. Teasers for things to come, it sounds like. Are there any folks coming up that you're particularly excited about? I know you said you've seen Lisa Gilroy's episode. Your ex step grandmother, I think, is the character she is playing.
That one, come time for it. Like, I have 1.5 million things to say about that. I have, obviously over the years performed a lot with Lisa, and she's brilliant. And I love performing with her. I think just in general, like, I just think she's the funniest. Again, it's like, I really do think everybody has such unique comedic voices that's coming up this season. And they're all just good friends. And so getting to perform and have this first season be with all of them and get and to have people get to watch them have it recorded just like selfishly is a dream just to have that on film. Zach's episode was a absolute dream and a delight to record.
That's the one I'm most looking forward to, because every time I see a picture of Tommy Shrigley, it's so upsetting in a new way. I love it so much. Yeah,
it was actively upsetting on set seeing him for the first time. I'm still a little upset about it. It was so crazy. It did not look like Zach in person at all.
It doesn't.
No, I mean, I think that's
wild.
The thing, is, the makeup team, I hope, is feeling the love on this and getting the love on this because Alex and the whole team are like really incredible. Not only are they doing these like crazy looks, but I think something that is like subtle but also very impressive is like we shot over the course of 4 days, but obviously like the episodes are all like mixed around, but like they also did my hair and makeup in all of those days and did it to look like they wanted it to look exactly the same. And like, and they did. Do I know how hard that is? Not really. But to me, that was very impressive as well, that like on top of doing all that crazy stuff, they could also like, they completely nailed just like me looking photo the same on every single day, which is also to me very impressive.
Yeah. One of the things
Did that answer your question?
I saw the
don't
behind
know.
the scenes.
I'm so sorry.
Who cares? It was fantastic. It was perfect in every single way. One of the things that I love, Alex said that she had looked through like all of, because this was the Anna episode, like looked through all of like Anna's characters that like she played online to make sure that there wasn't a rave girl mixed in there, that they could like bring something new. And I love that the makeup team is committed to not only are we going to make something weird, but we're going to make sure it's not something weird that they've done a bunch before.
Jordon, they are so talented. I can't even tell you, literally the second day on set, we get there and somebody comes up to Gabby and whispers something in her ear and then whispers something in Alex's ear. And Alex just goes, "Thank you." And I go, "Okay, I'll bite. What was that?" And she goes, "Oh, nothing." And I go, "Okay." And she goes, "It's just, we got nominated for Emmys." And I was like, "Excuse me?" The second day filming, we're nominated for Emmy Awards for doing hair and makeup. And it just was like, I mean, just like the most wonderful. I find makeup is so far from any of my skill sets that I am just like completely blown away by, I mean, natural makeup, let alone like all of the VFX that they're VFX, SFX, VFX, SFX.
What? V.
FX. Visual. The VFX that they were doing. What is SFX? Special effects?
Sound effects? Special effects? I don't know.
The effects. The effects that they were pulling off were truly like mind-boggling, absolutely unbelievable. And I just like getting to like get on set and then sort of going back and watching how they were doing all of the makeup just in the last couple of weeks has really been so cool just for me to see, having only been on the other side of it.
Yeah, I love like the back, and like when they're putting Anna's makeup on, they're saying like, "Oh, we're gonna put the horns here," even though there aren't horns to like throw Anna off as like sitting in the chair of like what's actually going to be revealed. Which also, the scream from Anna, perfection of like when the curtain draws back. Yeah, I want to talk to them. So if you have ins, like tell them to come talk to me.
Yes,
'Cause
please. They should.
I
Do it.
I've hopped in their DMs on Instagram. They don't know I exist. There are but yeah. I mean, like that iffy episode, like full prosthetics, and I know they mentioned that, like you said, you're filming 3 of these a day,
Yeah.
which is obviously a lot. Um,
Yeah.
for the makeup team especially, to try and that's why they said, like, like Anna's less prosthetics because someone like Iffy's, I don't know if they're the same day, but other people like Iffy who are getting like full prosthetics take way longer. I mean, how long is a shooting day for you for these episodes?
They usually have a pretty hard out at 12 hours, but it's and I think we usually were uh, like around whatever legally we're allowed to do. We sort of hit the threshold of that. um so yeah, I mean, it was definitely long days. It was bad for everybody, I think, except for me. Not bad, but you know what I mean? Long for everybody except good, actually, really good. And we loved it, and everyone loved it. And I'm on record saying everyone loved it. But for me, it was helpful, especially in sort of like just me creating my character, and also just like by nature of being warm on the improv side of stuff. Especially, I mean, like, you're an amazing interviewer and you come prepared with questions. For me, I did a lot of watching of like traditional type interviews of like I watched just like a lot of news people, but then also on the comedy side I thought it was important to sort of watch timing. So obviously, like, Z-Way is the queen of all of this, so I hers is a little different in that it's like written in real people, whereas ours is like just an improvised character. But from the comedy side of things, I thought was really important. And then like Kunk on Earth, I thought was like really good with
Mhm.
oh no, what is her name? Philomena Kunk, I think is what it is. Would make sense because that
Yeah.
is in the title. But yeah, it just like doing a lot of prep like that, and then sort of like having some of those touchstones for that character, and getting to just go through over and over and over again was helpful for me. I think on my side of things, I mean, it's like anything, you're used to what you're used to. But I was appreciative of just being able to like do a bunch of them in a row to stay in that mindset.
Yeah. Was the choice of your wardrobe intentional to be like, let's downplay Vic so that the other folks are so wild in comparison?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah, I think that was definitely a part of the consideration. I mean, the other big thing is just from an editing standpoint, because we're shooting so much during that day, is like, then, if you got a really great reaction somewhere, especially for like B-roll of stuff, it's like super easy to just plug and play.
Yeah.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
don't have like any definitive answers on that. That wasn't totally like I don't know for sure on that. I don't know. And so it could be, if I'm wrong, then I don't speak for anybody, but and so I don't know. But if I did know, that's what I would say.
I mean, it makes sense to
Just
me.
watch me frantically try not to get fired.
We would never allow. We would riot on Dropout Studios as a
Thank
group.
you, Jordan.
Yeah, I'm curious. Like those, like you said, like 3 a day, like really intense days for obviously makeup people, especially.
Hmm.
How do you? I mean, is it just is? How are you staying like as energized, like for all throughout? Is it just like pure improv training of
Coffee.
like kicking in? Yeah.
Yeah, coffee, lots of coffee.
Okay.
I also too am a personality type that I think would be classified as annoying in a lot of ways. And that to me is just I I don't have a lot of off. I think like as a person I do, like if I'm just talking to people, but like I don't. I do, I get energized being around people a lot of times, and I think by nature of coming up in acting and doing a lot of jobs that aren't as great, you there's a lot of that, like, if you're not here and you're not working. Honestly, I think it's a martial arts thing too, where it's that idea of like, if you're not here and you're not working, somebody else will be here and they'll be working. And Dropout doesn't treat us like that by any means. They're really wonderful and are very, very respectful of their performers. But I think also coming from that background in other places, like coming to a place where they are very kind to you and very attuned to what you're doing. Anytime they're like, what do you think about this? I'm like, yes. They're like, do you want to come in and do this? I'm like, yeah. How does this timing work? Perfect. Like, that's just like, that's sort of like, that's a me problem, but is also sort of my attitude towards things, especially in places that treat us even a little bit well. So a place that treats us as well as Dropout does, I would do anything for them, anything they ask.
Yeah, one of the things that I feel like, I mean, obviously I love Dropout, or I wouldn't exist as a like online person. But one of the things that I love is you'd
have something else. I can guarantee you'd have something else. Pokemon cards. I feel it. The universe is telling me that.
That would be me. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dropout feels like the kind of place that is a family of like people, but they don't do the thing like a restaurant would do, where they're like, "We're a family, so work 12 hours and don't complain about it." And that just it warms my heart every time I hear someone like you talk about like the wonderful treatment you get there, because I'm like, oh, I'm not like peddling bullshit out on the internet. Like it's good folks.
Yeah. Obviously everybody has their own experiences and I wouldn't want to talk for over anybody. But for me, and for my experiences with them, like I started doing stuff with them in 2019, doing like stuff on the sketch side, just doing like freelancey stuff. And then like, obviously when College Humor dissolved, getting to like come back and be a part of Dropout, like it's always been such a dream job. And then also just being like really flexible and like really being I mean, like literally I did that Hallmark movie and they were posting about it in the newsletter to get people to go and watch it. It's like, being so supportive of the stuff that we're doing outside of it. I think that is a really great way to put it, for my experience at least, which has been, yeah, exactly. It very much does feel like that. And just like by nature of the comedy community, especially in LA, being so small and tight knit, like I love Paul and knew Paul. Like it's so funny that he is such a wonderful producer, because I know him first and foremost as an improviser. Like we came up on the indie scene together and I just think he's the funniest person on the planet. So like now getting to work with him in a capacity where he's like, producing stuff is so cool and wonderful. But I think having those relationships, you want to treat your friends really well. I think you don't want to burn anybody. And so like I think everybody takes a lot of care with those relationships because they care about all the people involved.
Yeah, I was super excited to see Paul not only like take over as showrunner for Smarty Pants, but also like on set getting to perform, and that because he is so funny. And I was like, we get more. Like, I mean, I know we are like over
Smarty
time
Pants is yet?
here.
Oh, sorry.
No, they haven't. I have.
Okay.
Yeah. We've seen the logo, and I know Rick is hosting. That's the extent of my knowledge.
Okay. Then I won't say, but we'll chat when it comes out.
Wonderful.
I have thoughts and feelings, but I can't say.
Yeah, I mean, look, this is just like the weekly check-in with Vic. I love it.
Yeah, perfect.
I know, like, we are fully over time. I'm sorry.
No, you're perfect. I was 4 minutes late, Jordan. I was 4 minutes late, and then I made you talk to me about what your holiday things were and where you lived. That was me taking up your time at the beginning.
No, not at all. It was a delight, beginning to end. Rotating Heroes pod. Congratulations. I mean,
Thank you.
So excited for you.
My first time doing any kind of
come about. Like you.
Oh yeah,
I was just like, you and Rashawn and Jasper, all like brilliant. Yeah.
An absolute blast. I mean, like I obviously I know Zach pretty well outside of that, and then I'm friends with Rashawn by way of like, came from Chicago. I lived in Chicago for a while. Didn't do any improv there or anything like that. Was in sort of the middle of nowhere, but I am friends with like a cohort of Chicago improvisers that came out here. And so sort of like had met Rashawn through that group a while ago. So we're sort of like friends by friends of friends who have then become friends through doing dropout stuff, which has been really fun. And I mean, like, I love Rashawn so much. And I think we improvise very well together. And so I hope that that comes through in this. This was my first time doing any kind of like performance D&D. I'm obviously like a fan. I spend a lot of time in Vancouver. And so a way to sort of like, this is so maybe sad, but as a way to sort of like feel like close to my friends when I'm traveling for long swaths of time, I will sometimes turn on D20 stuff because it's like all my pals just like hanging out and being friends playing D&D. So it does make me feel like I'm home sometimes. So that's how I got into watching D20 stuff. But yeah, so like obviously was a huge fan of Burroughs End with Jasper and Rashawn as well. So like, yeah, just, and they're also experienced that for my first time doing performance D&D was just like such a wonderful, warm environment. So yeah, you know, I think I think it's fun. I don't know. I don't know. But
I'm sure it's going to be great.
We did
like
it, and it's here.
Jasper's a phenomenal DM. Rashawn and Zach, phenomenal players. You're in great hands,
Absolutely.
and I'm sure you're great at it. And you know, this is just the first step to getting you in the dome.
You know what? It's one of those things where I'm like, I'm like, it's worth it to listen to the three of them. And so I'm like, if I just get to sort of get brought along for the journey, I feel fantastic about that. So that, you know, sometimes just being around is the win. You know what I mean? You just get to sort of be in the presence of people that you think are so funny and so talented. And I think in general, getting to do improv at the level in which I am around now is like, that really is the game, right? Is like, I just get to be around people that I think are the funniest people in the world and get to meet a bunch of people that I think are like, so talented, and just being around them makes me better as a performer and as a person, and I feel so good about that.
Hey, guess why this interview series exists? So that I can talk to people like you who are the funniest and coolest people in the world, and I get to spend my time somehow like it's absurd that any of this exists, and it makes me so happy.
They're gonna make you move back to LA eventually. You're gonna become such a famous interviewer that they're gonna be like, Jordan, you gotta come back to LA.
Look, I mean, I have my prices. Like, Sam knows where to find me. This has been such an absolute delight. I'm not kidding you. One of my favorite Dropout performers, bar none. Like anytime you're on anything,
so kind.
I get so excited. Like it's like you're so talented, and like I wouldn't watch a Hallmark movie for just anyone. I really appreciate you coming and spending an hour hanging out with me. This is delightful.
Are you kidding? This was such a treat for me. I obviously am such a fan of yours via the internet, and now getting to talk in real life has been such a treat. I'm so happy to get to be friends with you in real life now, and this has been literally a blast. You're an excellent interviewer, and yeah, this has just been so wonderful. I'm so excited to be doing this on a bi-daily basis.
Amazing. Yeah. Well, if the folks at home want to follow you on the various social medias, where can they find you?
At VIC MMIC across literally every and all platforms. Though honestly, if it's okay, if you don't mind, there's a lot of really bad anti-trans bills happening here and across the country. So instead of following me, I think find a local place doing some good work in your community. Give them a follow. If you can't donate monetarily, usually they got some ass, and honestly, following and boosting their content is the best thing you can do for the most part.
And we're ending with a wonderful message on top of that. Yeah, I to plug myself, I guess, occasionally I do charity work on TikTok where I beg people to engage with my videos, and then I donate the money from that video to a charity. We did Trans Lifeline a few months ago. I think we got about $300-ish for Trans Lifeline.
Oh, hell yeah, that's amazing.
Not nothing. Yeah. So we'll do Trans Lifeline again. It's a very... it was one of those things where, like, when I started monetizing on TikTok, I was like, well, how can I do good with this? And I was like, oh, well, if I just beg people to comment and like a video, it like boosts it so that other people see it, and then I'll donate that to a charity. It's the easiest thing in the world. So yes, we'll do Trans Lifeline again this year. We're in Doctors Without Borders right now because
honestly, also
reasons.
a fantastic one to donate to. Not to step on Doctors Without Borders either, especially right now.
Yeah. Yes, but Vic, this was amazing. I'm so excited to call you my real life friend now. We're
I know,
just
me too.
steps
Look
away
at
from
us.
being royalty ourselves. Look at us.
Look at us.
I can't wait for more very important people. I can't wait for more very important people. I can't wait for more you on Game Changer, and I guess you on Smarty Pants. We love to see it. I'm looking forward to 1,000 more of these.
Me as well, Jordan. Thank you so much for having me and taking the time today. Again, I can't tell you how much I appreciate you as a person, and everything you're doing online. It's so great. It's so great to meet you.
Okay, thank you. I have to hit stop recording so that I don't cry on camera. And done.